Hi, Libra rising sign. Here is your weekly forecast starting on the 14th of May until the 19th of May. There is quite a huge focus on your shared resources and on your personal philosophy as well. So, welcome back to my channel. The Taurus concentration is very much hitting your eighth house now. This is the underworld in astrology. But it's also about shared money, deep psychology, things hidden below the surface. But by the end of the week, the Gemini energy pulls you up into the ninth house, forcing you to expand your horizon and your worldviews. So why does that happen? Well, firstly, because we have got the Sun-Mercury series triple conjunction happening in your eighth house. And Atlantis joins the club as well until the 6th of August. So this might be about you finalizing a major financial move. Perhaps you're thinking about a loan, an insurance payout, a shared investment. Maybe it's a conversation that you want to be having with your partner about all these topics. But with Atlantis here, there is a leak check. So is your financial partnership actually stable? Is the intimacy department stable there? So this aspect pattern requires you to do a bit of a deep dive audit. Let's check those accounts. Let's check the tax filings. You can use the series energy to nurture your long-term security, your psychological well-being as well. Maybe with Mercury being there, you're gonna have to be having a bit of a hard money talk. If you share finances with a partner, then we might be like discussing the infrastructure of our spending habits. Maybe you are needed to change your banking passwords. Atlantis warns of technical kind of floods in shared funds. So let's just do such simple things. Also, don't ignore your intuition about a deal. So if something feels too complex, it probably is. Atlantis can be very much about complexity. Don't take on new debt today. This might be, let's use what we have to stabilize ourselves, not to expand into kind of like high risk territory. Taurus doesn't favor those type of things. And also, it might not be a time to keep financial secrets. Eighth house is about honesty and transparency, and pretty much that's your only protection against the Atlantis kind of like flooding collapse. Now, Mars and Chiron conjunction are happening in your seventh house. This is the house of committed partnership. Imagine Mars and Chiron as a raw nerve, and it's sparking up your one-on-one relationship department. So this could be about you becoming defensive or not feeling enough for the partner or the client, or the partner can become very kind of like attacking as well. But often this is about the projection of our insecurities onto the other. Maybe it's about having to have the courage to have that conversation, especially if someone is crossing the boundary. Then it's all about using the Mars fire to set a limit. It will hurt, but it also can bring healing as well, because there is Chiron involved here. Sometimes the healing comes from doing something brave together. So we can do that too. Or maybe it's about having to sit down and recognize our own ego triggers. If you feel attacked, ask, is this them or is this my own old wounds kind of like speaking? But we can start using that pain as a way to control the partner as well. We can become very manipulative with it. So this might be something to watch out for. And Aries energy is very hot. And then we have got a bunch of Aries energies right now. So, let's take a beat before replying, let's say, to a frustrating email from a client or from a business partner and so on. And, Mars rules this transit. So it's about standing in our power rather than shrinking into that wound. Chiron often makes us as a victim, and Mars wants to kind of cut that attitude out of us, basically. Now, Mercury shifts into your ninth house and makes a conjunction to Uranus in the ninth house. This is the house of higher learning, travel, publishing, belief systems. So, this is a bit of a radical aha moment regarding your worldview. This is about potentially you change your opinion about something. You might be having a very stimulating conversation with someone, and all of a sudden you decide, you know what, my old belief system is actually not working. Let me upgrade it. Maybe this is about you booking a spontaneous trip, or you suddenly decide to cancel a trip of yours. Maybe it's about you wanting to attend a seminar, but this might be something that would be actually changing your life. Talking about learnings, I'm going to be just introducing this 16-week relocation course. You might want to be checking that out. The syllabus is available on my website because relocation is a very complex astrological concept. There are 6 techniques that I use to determine the best possible place of living. And I feel like it's going to become a huge topic, especially for Libra rising with a lot of ninth house activation in the upcoming years. So many of you might decide to relocate. And then if you want to master this art, then visit my website, AstroViktor.com, and I can teach you about it. But maybe ninth house is also about publishing and launching. So you can really launch a digital product, for example. Maybe you have put a course together, a book, a lecture, then put it out today. And also this is about, it's kind of like you read one sentence today and then it completely shatters your old belief system. The whole idea is let it destroy it because it has to be replaced with something kind of fresher. This is also, not necessarily like a traditional education platform, really. So this is about, let's say if you're a teacher, it's about you becoming somehow a non-traditional teacher, or your methods should become somehow non-traditional of some sort. Also, maybe it might be about your website is going down, or you're trying to upload a YouTube video, a broadcasting could fail. Maybe we just need to be upgrading or updating our tech side of things. And also, it's very easy to get into certain type of online debates with this. Often Uranus Mercury is a genius energy, so it can feel like it's like an intellectual superior. So instead of getting into arguments, we can use this as kind of creating something super intellectual. However, Mercury is very busy this week, so it's squaring the nodes and trining Pluto as well at the same time. And your nodes are in the 6th and in the 12th house, and those are the houses of service and solitude. And maybe you are realizing that your daily grind is interfering somehow with a bigger dream of yours. Now, that Pluto trine is a lot of creativity that it gives you. It's a visionary idea that you might be able to turn into more of a profitable creative project. But somehow this is telling me that it's not enough to think about it. Maybe we need to look at the technical parts of things because the 6th house is very technical. Even though it's Pisces, we have to be able to use the technical side of the 6th house as well. Maybe if you feel like that your job is a bit of soul crushing, then you might start using the Pluto trine to find a more expressive way to work. And we start doing, a bit of a brainstorming, a bit of a research, for example, how I can become an entrepreneur. And Mars also enters your 8th house this week as well. So we might have had a bit of a fight while Mars was in the 7th house. Now, how we can build up the psychological makeup or kind of like the foundation of that relationship. However, we can have fights over money, or we might decide that we're going to fix our intimacy department, for example. Mm. However, also, we can get a bit obsessed over our to-do list, or even we can get obsessed over things that people are not respecting your boundaries, or they are not giving you enough time, for example, to kind of retreat yourself to rest a little bit. Maybe people do not understand that you have had a lot of work, for example, and then you are feeling tired. And then Mars might end up fighting for it. And of course, Mercury is going to be expressing its opinion as well. With the Pluto in your fifth house, is it really feels like that I just want to do something for myself. I want to maybe go on a holiday, for example. Maybe we don't agree with the square to the nodes exactly where to go, but this is an invitation to go towards kind of like an adventure. And it doesn't have to be always too practical, right? Because the North Node is in the sign of Pisces. So, what it feels like to me this week is that you do look at your finances quite significantly and potentially, I would say that with Mars moving into your eighth house, your money it goes into the pockets of others. So you might be lending money to someone. You might want to be helping someone out financially. Ask yourself the question, is it the good idea? Is it the bestest idea? But also prioritize your creative joy. Often it's not just about working extremely hard, but doing something for yourself as well. It feels like with the heavy seventh house triggers and eighth house triggers, your relationship needs a bit of a shake-up. And of course, the fifth house element brings in the topic of fun, holidays, and so forth. So we might need to be working on that. Maybe we do want to have certain type of vulnerable conversations. And it can be with a boss, it can be with an authority figure, especially once Venus is moving into the 10th house this week, and that's you. But Venus is going to be focusing on how to become more visible. Venus is you, right? So, how I can make the most of my services, how can I make the most of my public persona? How can I align my private self with that public persona? Maybe also this is about you thinking to start a new healthier lifestyle, for example. But then we don't have to get too fussy about it. We don't have to micromanage it. We just have to listen to our body, what feels good. And you might be having some wild ideas about new business ventures as well. I really feel like with Pluto and Mercury trine, as well as with the Uranus being triggered, it can really work out pretty well for you. So, good luck, Libra rising sign, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye bye.